All right, everyone. It must be Friday because there's another Q&A with Alan and Marshall, except Alan had to take care of something. So we had a family friend whose son passed away. So he's at a funeral that just came up. So we really appreciate that for supporting his buddy. So, and then Richard was going to co-host, and he's got internet issues. He still might show up. We'll see if he figures it out. So his whole internet in his neighborhood just went down, like literally 20 minutes ago. And so Brian Bufka, thankfully, our good friend Brian, who's always watching, he's stepped up. He's moved up a little bit to co-host today. So thank you so much, Brian, for helping out at the last minute. Kudos to you, buddy.
Hey, no problem. I am not trying to fill their shoes. I'm just filling the seat. Do not pretend like this is something else.
Here's the thing. I can't do this show by myself. I'm not a stand-up comedian that can just talk for an hour. I'm a conversationalist. I need to have a conversation. So I think it's still going to be a fantastic show. And here's the thing. Every point that Brian is going to make is just as valid as anybody else. So don't demean yourself, buddy, because you're doing some good things. Oh, is Richard going to join us?
Yeah.
Let's see. Add to stream. Here he comes. Maybe not.
We got a blank screen. He'll show up.
We'll see if he actually shows up. We'll take him out until he does. Okay. So how are you doing, Brian? Let's just start with that.
Doing well. Super swamped, super busy. Schools, little leagues, all the fun stuff. Yeah. Super, super cool.
And if you're watching and you don't know who Brian is, Brian, why don't you introduce yourself? Where do you live? Talk about your shop just a little bit so everybody can kind of knows, why are you even here? Why do we even know you, right? So let's go. Let's lead with that.
All right. So I'm Brian with First Place Printing. We are a small apparel decorating and printing shop here in Central Missouri. We're about an hour outside of St. Louis. We have a manual. We have 2 manuals and a small automatic press. We also do banners and flyers and stuff like that, all in-house. I used to run a fast signs in St. Louis, and then when I left there, I figured out apparel, and here we are. So most of our customers are schools and little leagues and stuff like that, but we do some other stuff. So, and then I'm part of Shirt Lab, so yeah, here's who we are.
All right, so it looks like Richard has an image. We'll see if he's here.
Oh man, that's crazy that his internet went down. He lives pretty close to a hospital, so you would think that.
I don't know what's going on, so we'll try again here in a minute, right? So, all right. So anyway, thank you so much for filling in at the last minute. Really appreciate it. So let's say hi to some folks. So Amber's here. Hey, Amber. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching. Hey, I really love that Pink Floyd shirt you were wearing the other day on some social media posts you're doing. Sean's here. Hey, Sean. Good to see you.
How we doing?
And William's here. Good seeing you guys. Thank you for watching. And happy pre-Labor Day, I guess. Frank Good's here. Good morning, guys. And Frank said the same thing. No fedora. You know, when Brian popped in here before we went live, I'm like, hold on a minute. I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat. So
it's always close by. It's always close by.
Yeah. So it's all good. You know, you're not supposed to wear it indoors. You know,
Sure.
I know you were in the military. I know you know that, right? So, is that a cover? What's on your head, right? So, all right. So we've got a good show, and it's going to be lots of fun. And so one of the things I want to do before we get going, though, is to roll our brand spanking new GSG video. Let's see if I can get that squared away. It's right here. And so please enjoy this. And thanks to GSG for sponsoring us as always. And here we go. So enjoy.
Over the last 70 years, GSG has seen many changes in the apparel decorating industry. But one thing that hasn't changed is our dedication to helping our customers discover what's next. As we continue to lead the industry, GSG is here to support your business with industry experts. The latest innovative products, training services, and by delivering the perfect order.
All right, I think they had every one of their employees yelling at them.
Nothing like getting screamed at by your vendors. Fantastic.
Hey, that's right. Yeah. So, hey, I want to start the show by talking about my good friend Tom Rowan. So, if you don't know, Tom is doing something so mythic right now. I can't even believe it. And one of Tom's passions is ultra distance running. So, if you know Tom, he runs all the time. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in the same city as him, and we meet for breakfast. And I go, hey, did you go out for a run this morning? And he goes, yeah. I go, how far did you go? He goes, I did 25. I'm like, well, hold on. So you ran farther than a marathon this morning before breakfast? He goes, yeah, it's no big deal, right? So right now, right, he is doing this.
They just started. Matter of fact, it started 7 minutes ago, according to.
He's doing this, which is the UTMB World Series race. This is 106 miles through the mountains of France. Okay. And this is just incredible. This is their website, right? So it's trail running. Okay. It's just crazy. I mean, look at what he's doing, right? And you have 46 and a half hours to complete this course, or they call it for you. Okay. So it's just incredible, right? This is Tom. I've got him dialed up here so we can check in on him. Let me see if he started, right? Oh, he's in the race. Here we go. And we'll be checking back with Tom the whole show, okay? But if you want to follow at home, I've got this. I saved it as a bit.ly, right? So just go to atkinson.fyi/follow Tom, and you can get this webpage right here if you want to like follow him during your day as you work or as you lay around on the couch or whatever you're doing on Labor Day, right? I'm not going to be running 106 miles through the mountains of France. So we're all going to be living vicariously through Tom Rowan's effort. So,
That's
like,
great.
have you, like, I used to run until I've got all these knee and ankle issues, so I don't do any of that. But I will never go to this level, right? So what do you think about this, Brian?
I have friends that won't drive 106 miles to come and see me. So yeah, I think that it's absolutely crazy. He's awesome though. He's fantastic. I mean, this is 106 miles through the mountains. It's like, what is it, 10,000 meters of elevation change throughout the entire thing?
Well, they say it right here. 32,687 foot elevation gain.
Yeah.
So I guess it is 10,000 meters if we divide by 3, right? So
there you go.
You know.
So the last day of Shirt Lab, he went and ran 33 miles that morning to prepare for this.
Yes.
Like I just like I'm in awe of him because I could do it, but I don't want to.
Well, yeah. Well, also that's after it's going out and drinking on Bourbon Street. I mean, so
right.
Come on. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, because he was at the bar with us until midnight or 1 a.m. So yeah.
We got a Richard Greaves sighting.
Hey, I see a Richard Greaves.
Hey. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
You got 106 miles with Tom, Richard?
No. I don't like to show Tom up like that. You know.
Yeah.
When I can pass him on the curves
Yeah.
with my mini bike.
Yeah. So Richard has been sweating bullets here for the last 45 minutes trying to get connected to the show. So thank you so much for your effort, Richard. We really appreciate it.
So I had to come over to the grandson's house.
Oh,
And we're in.
we're in. Okay.
Are you home? Does your internet work? Yeah. What's the big deal?
Yeah. Okay. So
So the cell towers in my house in the neighborhood are also not working. So I couldn't get out using the cell phone. As you can see, I'm on a cell phone, or if you care, or whatever. So, all right. So that's enough of that. Back to the show.
Back to the show. So we got some folks watching. So Howard's watching. So I had lunch with Howard last week. So I connected with Howard through this show. He lives in Scottsdale, but he also has connections in Minneapolis and Denver. He's a promo distributor. Had a very great lunch with him. It was really nice meeting him. And hopefully we'll be doing some things together. So that was kind of cool. And so good seeing you, Howard. And our good friend Peter's here. Happy Friday, Marshall and Brian from M&R. Kim's here. Thanks, Kim, for watching. Another Phoenix resident. Dean's here. Says, ha, Tom's insane, insanely cool, out there living the best life. He is, right? He makes all of us look like slackers. So, and Peter says, good morning, Richard. So there you go. So, all right. So we got some fun topics today. And I want to lead off with it's Labor Day weekend. And I thought the best thing to talk about was salute to staff. And I've managed some big companies, and Brian, you've got staff, and Richard, you don't have staff currently, but you've managed a bunch of people. And so it's really kind of, we can't do what we do without people. The machines don't run themselves. Labor Day, of course, is a celebration of labor, right? So I thought it'd be nice to really start the show off by talking about and just tipping our hat to the people that make everything work, which is our folks, right? And so, Brian, since you've got probably more staff than me and Richard combined, right? Why don't you start the show off and just give kudos to the people that work for you or that you've worked with over the years, and maybe talk about how important it is to have really good people that work for you.
Look, yes, Myra, thank you. Look, without my wife, without the kids in the back, and I call them my kids because one of them actually is my kid. The other two are the same age or close to the same age as them. Look, without them, shirts don't get made. I can't make all the shirts. I can't make all the banners. So yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about let's work remotely. This industry doesn't work remotely. Somebody has to print a shirt. Somebody has to print the banner. So yeah, we try to do good things for our employees. I always know we can do better. We do birthdays, celebrate birthdays and cakes and all that kind of stuff. We try and make sure everybody's taken care of. So I appreciate our kids. I appreciate them a lot. And I've worked at big companies. I worked at a garage door company. We had 150 employees, and nobody seemed to give a rat's butt about us half the time. So I do appreciate my guys.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to say thank you. When I was running shops, I was one of the things I always tried to do was at the end of the day, be at the door after everybody clocked out and say thank you and high five people as much as I could. I didn't do it every day or all the time, but it was like one of these things that you really appreciate people because they're the ones that are on the front lines doing things, right? And we really need that. And of course, I have folks, right? So I have my virtual assistant, Lyra. Hey, Lyra, if you're watching, Mike, she lives in the Philippines. She kicks butt for me every day. She does stuff for this show. She's the one that posts it on the podcast channel. She's the one that sends out it on social media over the weekends. She does a lot of stuff for Shirt Lab, so she does a lot of work. And so big shout out to her. And then I also have some outsourced teams. So I'm redoing a website right now. So the guys at Sublime Media are doing that. They're the ones that do all the videography for Shirt Lab. And they also are the same crew that does the Adventures in Apparel decorating series that I do for jerseys. And then I've got a ConvertKit expert that's helping me. Her name is Lisa. So with my new crazy Mid-Journey project, right? So, so I can't do everything myself. So I'm very appreciative of these folks. And of course, I can't leave off the number one relief pitcher for the industry, Richard Greaves. The guy is always filling in for me, like for my Shirt Lab Q&A, and then of course here on our little show here. And he's always enthusiastic. If he can make it happen, he'll do it. And like proof positive, he's in his grandson's living room doing the show because he couldn't get his internet to work. I mean, come on. That's just amazing, right? So really appreciate that. And hats off to everyone for making my life easier. So because my life isn't easy enough, right? And I appreciate all that stuff. So anyway, so Richard, any comments on maybe some staff that you used to work with or whatever on this topic?
What comes to mind immediately is a quote from the man who still runs Zingerman's, a very famous Ann Arbor, Michigan delicatessen. But he wrote that your customers will only be as happy as your employees are.
Yes.
And what he was getting to was that if you treat your employees well, they will pass that on. Now, he was in a commodity business, and that extra customer service is what they actually do bring. When you get a grumpy person dealing with you, as I have had over the last couple of days, I've had some very grumpy salespeople that I had to be empathetic and think they're having a bad day. We have to be nice to them. But making things easier for your employees are a big part of that. So the employees that I actually remember the most was one of my original employees at Shadow Graphics. That's the Wendy Painter, who I dragged down to stretch devices. I sort of dragged her kicking and screaming and working for Don Newman. She was on and off and always going, that Don. I love Don, but he's quite a bit to work with. But I value every single moment. I try to be the best employee I could be for Don Newman, that's for sure. So much, I learned so much from him. The great friendships that I've acquired, I've done an awful lot of consulting all around the world and got to see a lot. That's not really employee things, but the people that I met that I now have lifelong friends that I can count on around the world. People like Brian, who I called on for some advice just last week in dealing with that grandson of mine, Grant. So the idea that the human skills used to be called the soft skills, but the human skills in business, keeping your employees, understanding what they're going through, because every one of those employees are coming together with their own. Internet didn't work. I got a toothache. My car needs a radiator problem. My wife, I'd rather be at home with my wife than here with you guys. Or I broke my finger, or my grandson needs a gift. Whatever it is, they've got their own personal lives, just like we do. They've got to go to the dentist. They've got to go to the bank. They've got to do their taxes. Are you helping them and making it a big family? If not, you're missing a real opportunity to get people to bond.
Right.
Brian?
And I tried to find, I got the Zingerman book on customer service. I can't remember the name of it on my bookshelf. And I thought it was yellow. I couldn't find it. And then,
I should be able to reach over, but I'm not at home.
Well, I was trying
right there.
Richard, right? So that was the thing. But a really fantastic book. If you haven't read it, it was right here on my desk because I was talking about the other day. Is Seth Godin's new book, The Song of Significance, which is all about changing how we feel about a workplace and working, about doing more than just, hey, we're here to make money. And so if you're interested in really revamping your business, that's something that you might want to look at. And And so it's really about doing more than just setting your business up as a money making machine. And I've talked about this before, and one of the reasons I like it is he uses a metaphor throughout the book about bees and a beehive and all that kind of stuff. And he's got several passages about it. But one of the things he says is that, honey is not the main purpose of a beehive, right? Honey is the byproduct of a well-functioning hive, right? And so he alludes to the fact that it can be the same with money, right? So your business can be set up in such a way that making money is just the byproduct that you're running a successful business, but it's not its purpose, right? And he gives plenty of instances throughout the book about doing more than just you're here to make money as an entrepreneur, and lots of different businesses that are set up that way. So it's just something I think that you might want to be interested in. And it's all about how we're celebrating employees and what employees right now are looking for. They want to matter more than just, I'm here to clock in and do the job and go home. They want to do something more than that, right?
Well,
So
that's like the book I just read, Bands First.
yes,
He's the Savannah Bananas guy.
yeah,
And he talks about that they allow people to bring food into the stands, bring outside food in. He's like, because it makes their customers happy. He goes, and that makes the employees happy because their customers are there. And so they talked about, that same thing of making your fans happy, therefore you're making your employees happy in the same instance.
Yeah, good. That's a great thing. And I saw him speak at a conference earlier this year. He's a pretty interesting speaker. I actually tried to hire the guy for Shirt Lab, but he's beyond our budget. So we have a limit, and he was beyond the limit, right? So anyway,
But you got Mike McAllowitz, so that's quite the scheme. So
yeah, so Jesse's getting more money than Mike McAllowitz. Put it out there.
So this brings up a good point, Marshall, and that is the next tier, the next level, and that would be the community, and that building a reputation, creating a link amongst the community, in which if you're doing business with the grocery store, doing uniforms for them, and where did you get everybody that comes into the store sees those uniforms, and if you do a better than average job, or you make it interesting, which is what the Savannah Bananas are all about, making everything more interesting and costumey in many, many ways, which I love. So reaching out and being part of that community, making that an extended part of your family, and linking people together. Because you got the hardware store, the lumber store, and when I was in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, the most god-awful small town in the universe that was run by the Phoenix Steel Company, the biggest competitor that I had for employees was Continental Can. And they were actually a very good community leader because they were so big. They had such a huge impact on the community. I was no Continental Can, but everybody benefited from the fact that Continental Can was in the neighborhood. Marshall?
Yes, I love that. And if you remember from Shirt Lab New Orleans, Jay Bassell, our first speaker, right, talked about community. And actually, I gave him an assignment for his presentation, and he really went way beyond what I wanted him to do. And the phrase that I wanted him to build his presentation on was from Mark Schaefer's last book about building your brand, and that was creating a digital campfire, right? So if we're creating a community, right, and Jay took that idea and ran with it, and that's where that whole collaboratory idea came from, was from that kind of germ of like an idea for the presentation. And so this is exactly what we're talking about, which is building something that's bigger than yourself, and you're kind of managing and doing stuff. But here's, at the end of the day, you can't do it yourself. You need your marketing person. You need your salespeople. You need other people to join in on the fun. Shirt Lab, as great as it is, isn't me and Tom and Allie. right? It's all of you guys. That's what makes it great. It's our sponsors. That's what makes it great. It's the people who show up to the Q&As every Tuesday and Thursday. It's the people who ask the questions in the circle group and the Facebook group. That's what makes it work, because I can't do it all myself, right? And so it's that whole collaboration thing. And I think when we have staff and we're all in alignment and we all see the goal and we're very clear about where we're going, that's when I think the magic happens. But if we're not clear on what we're trying to do, I think that's what happens when we start having some dysfunction with our team. So anyway, that's some big topics there to start off with. So thanks, guys. And I want to share, let me get it set up here. Here's the next thing that I want to talk about today, which is this cartoon. Let me get rid of this, right? So Lance McCord posted this today, and I really loved it, right? So hungry to win. See the big line where everybody's hungry to win. We all want to win. Hungry to do what winning requires. Interested in that, right? And so I think this is what separates a lot of folks from, are you successful or not? And a lot of people, everybody wants to be a millionaire. Everybody wants to do whatever it is, right? Look at Tom right now. He's running this incredible race. You can't do a 106-mile race if you're not running 30 miles a day for the last 6 months or whatever his training schedule is, right?
Yeah.
Are you hungry to win, or are you hungry to do what winning requires, right? So let's use that as a topic to go forward here real quick, right? So what do you guys think about that? Richard, what's your comment on that?
Well, the idea that you're willing to go beyond your comfort level. It means that you've got a dream, you've got a goal, and so that of course brings up two books. The Goal, the book by Eli Goldratt, and The Dream Manager are two books that guide people to do that. And that's what an employer is supposed to be doing, is creating an environment where you can get to your goals, the employees' goals, and that means talking with those employees and dealing with them. So are you a facilitator? And there are so many instances where you say, I'm going to let that go till tomorrow. I'm going to wait. When you're doing that, and so you're not interested in going through hurdles. We know when we've reached that, the Peter principle mentality of, I've reached the end of my skill level. This is my level for the rest of my life.
Right. Are you a thermostat or are you a thermometer?
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think, Brian? I know you got a comment.
So that comic, I saw it this morning. I don't know if it was Lance, but I saw it somewhere this morning. And my first thought was, all the people that want the easy button. I want the $1 million. How do I push the button to get the easy button instead of the actual work that it takes to get to the $1 million a year? And so that was my first thought on that when I saw that this morning. Was everybody wants the Lamborghini. Everybody wants the, hey, you're an instant celebrity. Yeah, it took 20 years of doing whatever to get to this point. And so that was my take on that entire comic and that thing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the wrong things, but it feels like nobody wants to work. They want to just push the button and get what it takes. I want the result, not the work that it takes to get to the result.
Well, Morgan Freeman didn't like act in his first movie till he was like 53 or something, right?
Colonel Sanders was 70 before they opened up the first KFC. Like he was.
You don't have to. You don't have to start in your 20s. And also, no, I really like that. And it reminds me, what you were saying, Brian, reminds me of the whole joke is, how do you make $1 million screen printing T-shirts? Start with $2 million.
So in the book, the 1 Minute Manager books, they talk about how you're going to find that your employee, that is your worst employee, is probably the treasurer of the Kiwanis Club or the bowling league or something like that, that they work on cars and do dragsters on the weekends or something like that, that they've got their own interests. If they're really interested, they're just not as interested in your business as you are. And when you find out what those people are interested in, you might be able to do something that at least motivates them internally, because just cracking the whip or holding the carrot is not as good as getting people to do something they love. And engineering type people, they like documenting. That's what I like doing. I like documenting and figuring out how things work so that I can make them run smoother and make it easier for other people. Figure that out of what makes people tick. That's back to the staff.
Right. You know, I think I don't know the exact quote, but Eisenhower said leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do and think that it's their idea.
Their idea.
Like that. I don't know the exact words, but that was kind of the gist of the quote, right? And that's leadership, right? And so I really these days, you know, I go to a lot of shops. I do a lot of stuff in the industry, and there's usually sometimes when I go places, not always, but there can be a giant disconnect between the ownership and the management group and the people who are actually doing the work, right? And or worse, the customers and the shop, right? So the shop is really focused on throwing things out there, but they're not really listening to what the customers are wanting or asking for. They're trying to sell, and they're not responding to what the customers actually want or need, right? And I think it's a really good thing that we need to be doing more of listening if we can, and just try to do that, right? So anyway, that's a good topic. I do want to talk about, and just our kind of a midpoint here, share our GSG Pulse magazine today. Let me get rid of where's my. It's a problem. I've got 3 screens going and I can't find my cursor. Right, so that's what's going on here. All right, so I want to share the Pulse magazine, and today I was just talking about this the other day with people who are doing registration prints, you know, strike offs, and a lot of times we run out of junk shirts, or how we're doing it. And somebody was talking about, where do I get those test print tubes? And I was looking at the Pulse today, and they actually have them at GSG. And what's really great about these are just, you know, these are basically T-shirts without sleeves, right? And you can order them, come in multiple colors. And what's really great about these is you just throw it up on your press and you can print, and these will spin around. You can do them inside out or whatever. And if you're trying to get what this image looks like on a real shirt, this is a really great way of doing it, because it makes it easy for you to find a material to print on. And so I just kind of wanted to show that today for the Pulse. And if you don't know what that is, you can go to gogsg.com, and it's like on their banner ad, right? So it's right here. When you log in, like you see the big header, just sometimes it's not what you see, so you got to like scroll over a little bit, and here's the Pulse. Just click view the current Pulse, and that's what comes up. So anyway, thank you so much for GSG for sponsoring our show. We appreciate you guys. And now back to our topic. which was, if I remember right, September goals, right? So, big believer in goal setting. I think we need to plant the flag on the mountain. So today is September 1st, in case you're not paying attention to your calendar. What goals, I'm going to put Brian here on the spot. So Brian, have you set sales goals or other type goals for September? And what are they?
No. Oh, wait. Yeah. So I don't have written goals, but I do have goals that I talk about with Myra and the kids. And so as the marketing guy for the company, my goal for myself is that we're working with schools and stuff for selling stuff before the Christmas season. So setting up stores for elementary schools and for all these different places. So that's my goal for September, is to get a number of these set up. So I'm reaching out to schools now and talking to them about those things, so that we have a good December, because that's how you get, a good weekend or a good month to prepare in advance, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, Richard, do you have goals for this month?
This month, the goals, because the weather is nice, is to continue reducing my storage footprint. My 70th birthday is coming up in January, and that reality is crushing me. And I spent the last 10 days moving from my 10 by 10 storage unit, all sorts of old T-shirts, my large collection of the 106 cases of history of screen printing book. Everybody should be thinking about that goal for Christmas. Everybody should be giving the history of screen printing away to someone. I know, it's shipped from me. So I ship those books for Guido Linguile. But I've moved those, and of course, they had to go to my other 2 storage units, and that means that I can hardly get around there. But oh, the fun that I've had discovering all sorts of new stuff that I've uncovered. And so that's just causing lots and lots of trouble. But my real goal is to get rid of the fiction books. I've collected all those fiction books that I read in the past, and I'm not going to read them again. And that's going to get rid of plenty of boxes and plenty of storage,
And
open areas. Right.
Your local library, what are you doing with that?
I haven't really decided. There are these little kiosks that people have in front of their house that hold about 20 books. There's 3 of those in my neighborhood. I have a meeting with the librarian set up for after Labor Day, because she's on her motorcycle driving around doing that. That's the kind of librarian she is. So, I mean, I'm working on it. That's clearly the easiest thing for me to shift out of there, because all the papers that I've collected, those are not easy to get rid of. I need more filing cabinets.
Yeah. So my mother was, and both my parents actually were passionate readers. And my mom donated a lot to her local library. She gave a lot of books to them. Actually, when she passed, we did a GoFundMe for the library in lieu of flowers, right? And there's no surprise that I read all the time. Right? So, and so that's, I love libraries, although I hardly ever go to them. Right? So, but anyway, so that's great. So just something to think about. We want to keep up here with the comments, so please comment. Dan's here, and he says there are people who want to do more, who dream of more, but are too busy doing other necessities. This is me, right? And then I was just talking about something similar to this with a coaching client this morning about how to prioritize time. And so what I kind of said was, if it was important to you, then you will do it, right? So if your family is important to you, you spend time with your family. If fixing up an old car is important to you, you spend time fixing up old cars. So like how you measure if things are important or not is how much time you're spent doing it, right? And I think sometimes that passion are the stupid things in life get in the way with it, right? And I'm looking at you, Facebook, right? And so just like, why do we spend time on these like time killers? And we don't really realize that we're there, right? And so what is important? Block the time off, make it important, make it so there's maybe a little penalty, right? I have a coaching client that's owned by two guys, right? And both of them have goals that they want to do for sales, and we outline the goals. And for every sales call they don't make, they have to do 10 push-ups for one thing under, like one sale call under. So you might have to do 30 push-ups today because you didn't hit your goal, right? And then so we just set our September goal, and now they outline that, and then the loser has to take the other one out to dinner, right? So that just having a little pain, right, that's the motivation, right? And so that's kind of something that might work, right? So just
Can I add a spoiler to that to pour cold water on your idea?
sure.
So there's I have a client that has a nursery school children, and sometimes we have to go pick them up on the way home because that's something we have to do. And so they decided to impose a penalty if you were late in picking up your children. They said that they were going to charge $20, and all of a sudden, being late tripled because the lady would just go, "Oh, I can be late. I just have to pay $20."
Right.
The pain was not enough.
Right.
So, I think those two ideas work together.
What is the pain threshold then, right? So, yeah.
So in that same vein,
50 then 100.
When my daughter was in grade school, it was $50 for every 5 minutes that you were late picking her up from after school care. But in that same vein, also though, you talk about you got to have pain, but in the business sense, Richard or one of you mentioned the book Who Not How, because you want find that person to do it so that you can go do what you're supposed to be doing also. So are we busy being busy? Both of you have said that probably 1,000 times to me. So
right, exactly. So here's another great comment. So Lakeisha says, I want to do the work, but my job is just in the way and sucking all the life out of me.
quit.
I'm trying not to quit, but it's affecting my ability to put the time and the work I need into the business. Right? So Brian, give Lakeisha some advice here. So what would you say to that?
Look, you have to pick. So whenever I worked, I tried doing T-shirts on the side whenever I was working at a fast sign. And you got to pick one. You've got to decide which one is the one you want to be doing and start doing that one and get rid of the other one. You will find a way. You quit that job and just start doing T-shirts, just start doing apparel, you'll figure out how to make the money. You just got to step out there and step off the ledge and decide to fly. So go for it, Keisha. I want to see you climbing and making apparel.
Right.
Your comfort zone. You're in your comfort zone.
Yes.
So when you choose comfort, you're making that decision. Be self-aware that you're making a decision for comfort, not for your new goal.
Right.
Look, in that same vein, I could get rid of one of the kids in the back working and take less jobs. Okay, we're all going to make about the same amount of money. Nothing gets better. Sitting around here pretending like, we're just going to do a little bit doesn't make anything better. Be better. Just Tom's the great example. We started this whole thing off with. Go run your 106-mile race through the mountains at 30,000 feet difference. Like you have to step out and do it. So.
Yep. All right. So Hurley says, tonight will be the first time I pulled a squeegee in 2 weeks. I've been busy setting up my shop to record video or printing, so we just keep up with modern times and marketing. No one seems to want to read anymore to learn anything. Everything's video. That's true and not true, right? So I've been publishing a blog since 2010, and I have thousands of readers, right? So I think I think you just have to like pick your lane and just do it, right? You can also, by the way, your video can be transcribed, and now it's a written article and the reason why words matter is because of SEO, right? We use words to find things on the internet, right? And that's how it works, right? So
AI, take your video, put your video on YouTube, use AI, it transcribes it. Now you have a podcast, or now you have a blog.
right, yeah.
There you go.
Frank says this is good to know because SSF stopped selling these. I guess he's talking about the t-shirt tubes a few years back, and people still ask me for them. So there you go. Thanks, Frank. Now you know where to send them. Dan says, how do you help a guy that does have goals but can't get time to actually reach the goals due to his time filled doing things that are a must, asking for a friend? Dan, you have to outsource this. I'm a perfect example, right? I'm crazy busy, right? I have a VA that handles all of my social media. If you've seen anything posted by me on any Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, LinkedIn, that isn't me. I've got somebody doing that for me. Okay. Also, she does all my transcriptions. She does my editing. This is Lyra I'm talking about. She does all that. I've got a web guy who does my web pages, right? Can I do a web page? Yes, I've done them before. I don't have time. So we're just finishing up my new web page for my Midjourney newsletter. We're in the final stretches of me approving that. How do I know? I just got invoiced this morning. So, I'm using an app called ConvertKit, which arguably I don't know anything about. I've got a newsletter I'm publishing every Monday, right? I've hired a ConvertKit expert to help me with that, right? Because I want best practices right off the bat. I don't have 2 years to make all the mistakes, okay? So for you, who, not how, Brian was just talking about that, who can be doing these things for you so you can get further down the field faster, okay? A lot of this is a team sport, man. You got to where's your team? Who can be doing it for me? Who can help, right? So that's how you get your goals done and you move further down the field, right? And yes, you're going to have to spend some money maybe, right? It's okay, right? Just figure it out.
But if you put over dollars to pick up pennies?
Yes, right.
Acres of Diamonds.
Yeah.
Brian mentioned it before. Dan Sullivan's book, Who, Not How.
Right. All right. Home stretch here, fellas. Last thing, industry education. Where do you get it? Right. And I know that Richard and I are passionate about industry education. And I'm sure we've got some very distinct ideas on this. And so I wanted to throw that out there. And for me, I don't think that this industry does a good enough job educating people on a reliable and forthright manner. Okay. Like I speak at trade shows, I write articles, I do videos, I do all this content that I'm creating all the time. And we still have people who don't understand screen tension. How is that possible? Okay. We still have people who have launched their business and they don't know how to sell or who their ideal customer is or their cost of acquisition or all these basic building blocks of businesses. How is that possible? Right? So I just kind of want to throw that out there because we've got 2 shows coming up. We got Fort Worth. We've got Printing United. We've got a lot of content development. I certainly do my share of that, right? How can we teach and educate the industry better? That's something I'm always wrestling with. How can we do a better job of it? And also, how come people aren't reaching out and getting it, even though it's out there? What is wrong with people, man? How can we do a better job of that? What are y'all's opinions on that?
Go ahead, Richard.
We used to have 4 to 5 technical screen printing magazines that came out every month. And those magazines have just evaporated. Impressions and screen printing, are still there, but they're published digitally now. They don't send out magazines. I miss those days, but they're still on the web. But when you look at both those magazines, especially my beloved Screen Printing magazine, which Marshall still writes for, it's turned into a business magazine, and in many ways it's business light magazine for screen printing. There's a new editor. I love the old editor, but there's the new Impressions magazine. Who's on the cover there?
Just got it in the mail yesterday.
How thick is it? Is it 40 pages or is it 50 pages?
48 pages.
Okay. Used to be 170 to 180 pages every month. So that tells you the advertisers have gone because there's nothing to subsidize it anymore. And the editors are not going for the education breaking articles that you can get from 1975 to 1995, the heyday of the educational articles in screen printing world. So
let's take it back to the joke, the comic that we saw earlier. The writing that's the technical stuff is the how to work hard and get to the right step. It's not the easy button. And that's where I see a lot of people screw up. They want what's the easiest way to do this? I can do it this way. I don't have to learn all of the things. I can just do it. And I think that's what has happened. I think that's what's changed, Richard, is that that's the piece that's missing in the world.
Well, look at the advent of DTF, right? And I know a lot of people are moving to DTF. I hear it all the time. Why is it so popular? It's because we can get a part-time college kid or a soccer mom to run the panini press. It's way easier than actually learning to screen print or learning to embroider. A lot of the customers just want something on the shirt. They don't need like the level that we always think about. And when you go to stores now, right, when you go to stores, a lot of the garments that you see in the stores are transfers, right? They're heat applied graphics. I was telling people this week, a couple of weeks ago, I was out shopping with my wife and we just ran into Old Navy because she wanted whatever she wanted at Old Navy. And what does the t-shirt guy do? I always go look at the t-shirts to see what's going on, touch and feel like I've got some magical braille power, and half of the shirts at Old Navy are transfers.
We bought school supplies for the kids.
Here's the interesting thing. The images that they were using were not easily made by screen printing because they were more detailed and more scenes, and they were more complicated pieces of art. So if you were to try to do that screen printing, you're looking at a really large color sequence. And so they're opting to do that same image, but they're doing it I think in an easier fashion, which is a transfer. Now, why didn't they go DTG? That's the question, right?
It's easy.
And I think a lot of it has to do with sometimes DTG is proved to be a little unreliable in how it prints, maybe. And pre-treatment and stuff.
Think of the extra steps, Marshall. DTG. I used to own a DTG printer. You got to put the pre-treatment on it. If you didn't do a good job of doing that, then the print doesn't look good. But if you put too much on it, then the print feels awful because the shirt is stiff. So DTG is so much more difficult than DTF because DTF, I send my stuff off to the people that I send it to. I get a print back. I go press it back there on the press. It's like you said. I can take my high school kids, my cousins and nephews out of the school and bring them out here, and they can press shirts all day long and get. My daughter, we bought shirts for her for school. There was one shirt that had like 8 or 9 colors on it on the youth shirt. Okay, it was DTF. I can promise you. I can feel it and see the difference. And why is that? Because it's just easier to do it that way.
Yeah, and the error rate is way less, right? And so the rejects. So I think that we're going to see a lot of movement in this direction. But here's the thing: DTF, you still got people are coming out of the woodwork trying to be the DTF suppliers. Everybody wants to be Supercolor. Everybody wants to be Stalls, but nobody wants to have those processes, right? So a lot of people are selling transfers as like a supplier, but they're not sticking, or the color's weird, or just go down the giant list of issues, right? And so a lot of people are doing that now, and I think personally, it feels to me like we're 3 or 4 years of looking for stability with DTF. I'm anxious to see M&R's new piece of equipment that they're coming out with, debuting at the Fort Worth show. They had a DTF printer at Long Beach, but now they're picking a new DTF manufacturer, and I'm really interested to see all the details about that. Mark Sladonic was talking about it a couple of weeks ago right here on the show. So I think it's going to be really interesting now that we've got some of the more reputable manufacturers coming in with their version of the printer, how that changes things. But because M&R is not going to do it and screw around with it. They're going to do something that's going to be reliable. That's their reputation, right? So very interesting, right? So
and no screen making.
No screen making.
I mean, it kills me to say that, but hey, it's one of the best reasons to move into DTF.
Yeah, so I was having a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were asking me why, there's a screen printer, and they're really good at what they do. Like, why is everybody going to DTF? I'm like, you're looking at it like a chef. You're used to this elaborate process. You make this gourmet meal. Why does anybody want to use a microwave? I don't get it. And I'm like, okay, well, not everybody needs a gourmet meal. Sometimes you just want to heat up your burrito, and it's fine, right? So,
but people in the industry actually care about the screen printing. The people who are buying it care about, does the print work? Does it do what they wanted to? Did it get the information out there about the football team, the softball team, whatever it is? That's all they care about. We're like, oh, it doesn't stretch, and it doesn't do this, and it doesn't do that. 90% of the industry, the people buying it, don't know the difference and don't care.
Yeah.
And that's why I think DTF comes into play, is that you don't have to know about the screen tension. You don't have to know about all the thin mesh, thick mesh, all those different things. You just have to know, is the heat press the right temperature, the right pressure, and press assured.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. So do you think the reason why a lot of screen printers don't like the transfer stuff is because they see it through the lens of, it's not what I do, right? And they're looking at it through that lens, not through the lens of, what does the customer want and what will they buy?
It's ego. We are egomaniacs.
Ego. There you go. I love it, Brian.
We're screen printers, so we want everything to be. We're hammers. Everything's a nail. We're screen printers. Everything has to be screen printed.
That's great. That's great. So
and
Dan,
too.
I never like transfers because of the feel compared to the soft hand printing that I was a leader of in the early 80s. Now, you can't do white very easily, so it depends on the kind of design. So if it's a sheet of white ink, even a sheet of Farrah Fawcett, it feels like you ironed a piece of plastic onto your shirt. That's right. But most people don't care.
Not all transfers are like that, Richard. Okay.
I know.
So it's like, it's one of these things where there are transfers where you can't feel them, right? You're not getting that from everybody, right? So, hey, we got some.
It's very hard. It's very hard to do a DTF or any class of a transfer with a white backer for full color process on a black shirt, or they would go onto a leather jacket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dan's got a giant thing, right? People want free. That's the world today. Most want free and proper education. Facebook and YouTube. This is why Facebook Screenprinting groups are thriving. Give me free info. But some of that info is wrong, and you're a bad man for challenging that wrong info if you handle it with a large, soft mittens. To most, at least some questionable info is better than no info. They will take the risk. And social media, to those just starting out, John Doe's answers with 1 year's experience carries as much, and he got cut off by some limit, right? And I know where he's going because I actually don't answer questions on Facebook anymore because I'm giving away 30 years of experience in the industry with the right answer, and then some idiot flames me, and there's this giant war, and like I have no patience for that. So that's why I don't answer a lot. In fact, I try to stay away from Facebook just because it's such a you're always wrong place to be, right? Just no matter what you say, some people are going to say you're wrong. I try to stay away, right? So Justin says, get over yourself, Davis, right? So
insider jokes now.
Yeah.
David is David Schlegel.
Yeah. And then here's the rest of his thing. Carries as much weight as me, Richard, or Mark Dre. Thus, the wrong information is perpetuated. The one-eyed man is king of the land of the blind. Exactly. All right.
Keyboard Cowboys.
We're out of time. Peter, all of us are apparel decorating biz or print snobs. We look and touch and sniff and stretch to print. The general public sees the design they like and buy it. Exactly, Peter. Perfect.
I have something to close out with.
Yeah, let's go. You
2-second lane?
No. Today I'm wearing a Yolano shirt in honor of the great Gary Gayton, who I've known for almost 40 years. Gary Gayton, this is his last day working as a sales manager for Kiwo Yolano. I've known him since the early 80s when we worked together at Autotype and did a lot of projects together. So he will be missed. He's always been a very good friend to me, and he's 70 years old next year too. So he's decided to go to the Mediterranean cruising. Goodbye, Gary.
Yeah, that's great. I know Gary and known him for a long time, and what a really nice man. Really knows his stuff and great in business. Just super nice guy. So Gary, you'll be missed. Anxious to see who fills those shoes.
Lee Bryant.
Oh, really? That's great. I know. Lee
Thinking about moving from Green Bay down to Houston, Texas, where the tornadoes are.
Right, great.
The hurricanes.
Great. Well, congratulations, Gary and Lee. That's great. So, Brian, Richard, Labor Day's here. You hanging out with your family? What are you guys doing?
Sure. Yeah. Working and probably doing a little bit of that. So, playing catch up.
Yeah. Richard, what do you got going on?
Tonight we've got a family dinner at the yacht club. And then going to...
do they let you in? They know about you?
I have to wear a coat.
Oh.
Hiding. He's in a coat.
It's the good part of the family. And then Grant and I are going to see the new Equalizer movie, Denzel's new movie.
Yeah, I like that flick. Yeah. My last movie I saw was Oppenheimer. It was excellent. So.
He took me to that one too.
We saw it. Jack wanted to talk about this is you're a dad when every night around 10 o'clock, 10:30, I fall asleep on the couch and I wake up about midnight and go to bed. That's like how I roll. And so he wanted to go see the movie. We couldn't get at the IMAX and we couldn't get decent seats because we're theater seat snobs. We like to sit in the middle, right? And so we found tickets at the IMAX for the Tuesday 10:30 at night show, right? And he goes, Dad, do you think you could stay awake?
You
So we went to the show, right? And of course, we didn't get home till 2 a.m, right? And I start my day every day at 5:30, so that's 3.5 hours of sleep on Wednesday after that. And I made it work. It worked. Didn't fall asleep. Excellent movie. Highly recommended. So
He took a nap during the day, Richard. Don't let him lie to us.
I wanted a nap. I didn't. So I had way more coffee that day. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate you. And my last word is go Seminoles. We open up Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern against LSU. We're going to be kicking their ass. I can't wait to watch that. And we'll see if we're worth a crap this year or not. So,
Brian, is that a new kind of semi truck he's talking about?
No, Florida State, baby.
It's
Great.
football when they want to play. That's what that is.
We'll see. We'll see if Marshall's going to have a good year or not. Right there. So
I printed Seminole shirts.
thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you. We'll catch you next week, and I'll talk to you later. See you.
Bye bye.